Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion. I'm your host, Dr. Franklin Ruehl. Now the question of the day: do all vampires bring their victims across? Roll tape.
It's time to tell you about the new theory concerning vampires. But first, the trivia question of the day. Let me extricate here from its paper prison. Which actor portrayed Dracula in 1943's Son of Dracula? Multiple choice, inverse alphabetical order. Was it George Zucco, Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney Jr., John Carradine, or Lionel Atwill? All veteran horror stars, but which played Dracula in 1943's Son of Dracula? The prize, the only prize, is one pat on the back, which is a heck of a lot better than a slap on the belly with a wet trout. Now, if you want $1 million, call Meredith Vieira. But please, please do not call us. We do not have the operators to take your calls, and if we did, we still could not afford prizes, certainly not $1 million. I'll take a sip of water and return with the correct answer momentarily. Okay, I'm calling time. Let's look at the 6 actors: Zucco, Rathbone, Karloff, Chaney Jr., Carradine, or Atwill. Who starred in Son of Dracula from 1943? Is that your final answer, Lon Chaney Jr.? You're absolutely right, yes. You didn't need any of those wimp lifelines. Now, the new theory comes from a professor, Kostas Efimou, at the University of Central Florida. He is asserting that, he's a skeptic, asserts that vampires do not exist, and his argument is as follows. Let's assume that in the year 1600, there was one vampire, a lone vampire on Earth, and that the world's population then was about 537 million. Obviously, we didn't have census then, but that's an acceptable figure. He now asserts that that one vampire, once a month, would not only bite someone, but bring them across, transmogrify that person into another vampire. So let's see what would happen. After the first month, we have 2 vampires roaming around. Second month, 4. By the 6th month, 64 vampires, not too many. After 1 year, there'd be 4,096 vampires roaming the earth. By month 17, it suddenly jumps up to 131,072. And that's what's amazing. You just start off doubling these small numbers, and they do grow exponentially. By month 20, we now have 1,048,568 vampires roaming the planet. A little bit more of a problem. By month 24, that's after 2 years, 16,777,088 vampires. And after month 29, about 2.5 years later, there are 536,866,816 vampires. Virtually everyone on Earth has become a vampire. The idea that each one every month is bringing someone else across. Now, his argument is reasonable. In fact, he was a bit generous because he could have argued that they would have bitten someone every week and brought them across, so that we would have had the world overrun with vampires after just 29 weeks or a half year. And if he said every night they bit someone and brought them across, in just 29 days or a month, the world would have been overrun with vampires. Now, his arguments are good, but they miss the point. Vampire lore says that when a vampire bites someone, there are 4 possibilities. That person will die, the person will be a one-time victim and live, the person will become a repeat victim, or the person will be brought across, that is, transmogrified into a vampire. But vampires, first of all, would have been intelligent enough to know they didn't want to create so much competition that everyone they bite, they're bringing across. And, of course, not every one of them would have the knack, the ability to transform a person into a vampire. I point out the TV series Forever Night. I don't know if you saw it. It dealt with a Toronto detective who was actually a vampire since the 9th century, and he was in love with the autopsy surgeon. Now, when he was originally brought across by his mentor, he wanted to also bring across his wife, back in the 9th century, but he took too much blood and killed her. Now, fast forward to the very final episode of that show, entitled, appropriately enough, Final Night, spelled K-N-I-G-H-T. The autopsy surgeon wants to be brought across. She loves him. She wants to become a vampire too. But once again, he took too much blood and killed her. Then he asked the mentor to stake him so he could join her in the afterlife. A very dramatic ending to that series. But it stressed the idea that bringing across a human, converting them to a vampire, isn't that easy. In the 1943 film Son of Dracula, the actress Louise Alpert actually married Dracula, who was using the name Alucard, that's Dracula spelled backward, because she wanted to be brought across so she could live eternally. So my point is that I'm arguing that vampires may exist. I'm open to that possibility, but if they do exist, they're not bringing everyone across at the rate that the professor from the University of Central Florida argued. No, or we would have everyone a vampire today, and of course they'd run out of victims and have to kill each other or die off. So I think there's a possibility that vampires exist and occasionally will transform someone, but they're not doing it on a monthly basis, such as the professor argued. So I don't think his argument rules out the possibility that vampires exist. But I think it's good. I always like to debate skeptics, and he did a good job as far as he went.
Now, until next time, may the power of the cosmos and of Dracula be with you. Yes, yes, yes.